On to our conversation this morning, Councillor workshop on local water done well, before a Councillor excluded workshop and a health and safety update. So I'll hand over to Tim and Julie. Thank you for the papers as circulated, and the floor's yours.
Thank you, Sam. Just bear with me. Julie's asked me to run the IT, so hopefully this is going to go okay. The intent of this briefing this morning is following the decision to establish the WSCCO on the 2nd of this month, is to introduce some key decisions required for the establishment of that Water Services CCO, familiarise you with the timeline of activities, and provide an opportunity for some feedback. Probably important to note that the dates that Julie is about to talk you through are indicative, and they might change a little bit as we better understand our program. There's also going to be some additional reporting that will come to you. An example of that would be the water service delivery plans. This briefing focuses solely on the key decisions that we're going to be looking to Council to make over the coming months. So, as previously stated, the decisions that we're going to discuss or present to you today support the implementation of the decision made on the 2nd to establish a WSCCO. The WSCCO will commence operational delivery from the 1st of July under contract to Selwyn District Council, with final asset transfer to occur in November and December. And the intent there is for alignment with Bill 3 coming into effect. We think that's going to be in December. We're not entirely sure yet. However, the program dates might change a little bit to align with Bill 3. Many of the decisions have operational aspects and will be driven by the WSCCO's requirements. And also so to note, there's been some discussion around board appointments. This will be included as a key decision once the appointment process is agreed. Okay, now I'll hand over to Julie to run you through some of the key dates.
Thank you. So what we've done is we've broken what the council decisions are and what the context decisions are down into kind of chunks. Before any decision comes to you for each of these blocks, there will be an opportunity to have a briefing, have a discussion, and to get feedback, and then we will bring decisions to you informed by that feedback. So the first big decision that's going to come in terms of incorporation would be the adoption of the Constitution, and the establishment of the actual legal entity, which allows us to have a legal vehicle to start preparatory work with and have a counterparty for in terms of setting up for operational delivery on the 1st of July. Now, what we've talked, I think we talked a little bit about around in deliberations, is that what we're going to do is look at an interim statement of expectations. So we don't, as we've discussed, we don't have the benefit of Bill 3 yet, so we can't put a Bill 3 statement of expectations in place until that's in place. But what we can do is put an LGA statement of expectations in place, which is similar to what we do with CORD now, to make sure that the entity at establishment and in its initial delivery phase has the direction from council, informed by your views and community, on what we expect them to be doing, what we expect them to be reporting back, and our involvement in consultation and engagement. Also at the time that the entity is established, at the moment, Murray Strong is not a director because the entity doesn't exist. He's currently a contractor to council, so the decision would come at that point to appoint the initial establishment chair as the one board member. And then as part of the Constitution, there will be a appointment process that is put forward for in the briefing on the 7th of May for discussion around how directors will be appointed, and directors will subsequently be appointed in line with that appointment process. And all those decisions will come to you for the 21st with a briefing on the 7th. So the next tranche of decisions, the first ones are very much just about getting the entity set up. these next tranche of decisions are around about delivery. So as Tim's flagged, because we won't have the benefit of the bill on day one, we're not proposing to fully transfer the assets until we have the benefit of the bill, and that's for a number of things. It makes sure that we're not having to rewrite agreements, we're making sure we're getting tax exemptions, and that we're getting the full benefit of the bill. And we're giving time for the CCO to set itself up for success and to deliver well, and also to make sure that you have your full statement of expectations in place before it takes all the assets and transfers over. As such, we need some operational agreements in place for day one delivery. So the first of those is what we're terming at the moment an operational delivery agreement, which is where council will continue to own the assets, but the WSCCO will become responsible for delivery of the services and water and drinking wastewater services. There will be then noting that the staff transition will be happening over a 6-month period, and they won't be fully staffed up at that point in time. We will put in place a transitional services agreement where council will provide some services back to the CCO on a sliding scale, with the idea that the services will reduce the closer we get to a December timeline. And there will be modelling that sits in the background on both those agreements that look at true cost of delivery and making sure that both sides are balanced. The water services delivery plan, which I'll leave Tim come to talk to you about, will also come for adoption at this point in June. And if there is any interim, we're working through how the finance will work with LGFA at the moment, having met with them and DIA in Wellington last week. We're hopeful we will be able to get that in place for the CCO very quickly. But there may be an interim need for some working capital. We're not sure about that on a loan basis, on a very short-term basis. If that's required, this would come to you in June. We would brief you on it early June, but we're not sure if that will actually be needed yet.
Just a little bit further on the water service delivery plans, as Julie has stated, the intent is to have those approved in June. It's earlier than we have talked about before. However, we're looking for some clear acceptance of our model as early as possible. We had a really good meeting with some Crown agencies a couple of weeks ago, DIA included, and we're working closely with DIA to understand what they expect to see in regard to those plans, to make sure that we get them signed off as early as possible.
Sorry. This next set of decisions relates to the actual transfer and the full establishment of going from an LGA CCO to a full water services CCO under Bill 3. Now, we received feedback last week that the bill is likely on an August trajectory. So what we've got there is that decision coming to you a little bit earlier than what we had originally thought, but that date will be subject to movement depending on what the select committee process ends up like. So the key things that will be here are the transfer agreement. Now, the content of the transfer agreement is set by Bill 3. Now, that looks at transferring assets. It sets out how the relationships between council and the water services CCO in terms of processes that both parties have to be involved in, like consenting, for example, how those relationships work. It talks around what powers councils may delegate under bylaws. It really just sets up how does this work and how is the CCO set up and empowered to do what council would like it to do in terms of delivery of waste and drinking water. There will then be we would look to bring to you, having taken direction from you in July, a final statement of expectations, which would comply with the Bill 3 requirements, which would be that more fulsome statement of expectations that we've talked about and around community engagement. We'd bring that to you at that point, and it would supersede the interim statement on the basis that we will know what the Bill 3 actually is finally requiring of that. As I said, we'll be repealing their interim statement of expectations at that point, and then we would just ask for a delegation to the CE to do the transactional aspects of it. So to not change any of the deal, but just to say, that's the deal, CE, please go, get the land transferred, do the things that have been agreed under the transfer agreement. At this point in time, once we've got Bill 3, we're developing the constitution based on what we think is going to be in it. But if there are any unexpected changes that have come through to Bill 3, we would also bring to you any amendments required to the constitution at that point for approval in order to comply with Bill 3. Me again. So your last one is, this is very much your LGA set of decisions. So in order, because the assets are significant assets, even though it's under the Preliminary Arrangements Act and we're not required to consult on it, we are still required to prepare an LTP amendment which transfers our water assets out of our balance sheet into the WSCCO. Would be the entire content of the LTP amendment. It wouldn't do anything else. And there's also going to need to be a development contributions, again, potentially limited review, which aligns our DC and our Huey calculation to what the new LTP will be saying post-withdrawal of the water assets.
Okay, and that's about it. Obviously, you'll be kept up to date with regular briefings, and there is an intention once this program is completed, we'll bring a final paper identifying that the assets have been transferred and the program of work is essentially complete. So that's the briefing. Sam, if there are any questions.
Thank you. It's good. So this is helpful for, I think, everyone to see the depth of work that's going to be required over the next few months, and that all of the information is going to be given to us, not just on a paper in the meeting when you're expected to make a decision, but through a briefing beforehand and an opportunity to ask questions and analyse what's going to need to be discussed and then brought to the paper at the subsequent meeting after that. Also note that some of the timing of this will happen prior to the election, and some of it will be up to the new council to finalise the transition because of the timings, November, December decision making. Are there any particular questions on the route that we're taking, the briefings that we've got in here, the information that's been presented, or some of the processes that you'd like to know a bit more about? Megan?
Yes, I just have a question about the transfer of assets, and I know there's going to be a transfer asset agreement. Will that include some type of stock take so that we know what state the asset is in at the time of transfer?
The work's underway already, so we've been compiling the assets, what they are, and we're now working with the team to build up a asset state maturity remediation timeline. Exactly where it is now.
That's really helpful, because if we're a team of governors handing over an asset or selling it for nothing or to another entity, then we want to make sure that that when it's picked up, there's going to be no dispute about what state they're in. And then my only other question was around assets, is development contributions that we've currently accumulated for wastewater and drinking water services, do they transfer as an asset as well? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, my questions are around the process and from where to from here. And so I see all these decisions are going to council briefing, so that is full council briefing. And I guess that's down to, like I'm just looking in my diary that it's the Local Water Done Well subcommittee meeting. And so on the 7th of May.
Yeah, Lydia, there is the intent of that meeting is to essentially talk to disbanding the committee, and then a paper will come to full council with that recommendation. The intention there is to make sure that all decisions and information is coming to full council.
Cool, that's great. My question's around the constitution. So I know that you have had that for a while. That was at our last Local Water Done Well subcommittee meeting, and so I'm just wondering if there's any way that we can have it earlier than the 7th of May, if as council already has that. And my other thing is around, I guess, the board appointment and budgeting around that. And are we going to see any indicative costs of the budget? I know that we have approved $2 million up until lodgement of the water service delivery plan, but in our local water done well meeting, we've said that we're going to breach that budget. So I'm just trying to figure out what this looks like over the next few months.
Sure, so I can answer the Constitution one. I might let Tim take the budget one. So from terms of the Constitution, we will be sharing it with you in advance of the 7th. As we do papers, at the moment it's going back and forth over, but internally with management and drafts and comments. So once it's in a state that it's at officer approval level, we can absolutely share that for you in advance of the 7th.
In regard to the budget, you will get visibility of that, and I believe Murray and Alex are preparing that at the moment.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, because I've just looked through the past papers, and when we appointed the interim chair, budget or remuneration was approved until the 1st of July. So that's just to make sure that we are following.
Yes, so the other thing will be from the 1st of July, once he is appointed to the CCO, it won't be the council paying his salary anymore, it would be the CCO paying his fees.
Very well, thank you.
What was the reason today was in PX, and what reason going forward will we be in PX or will we not be in PX?
It's not. This
You're
is
not
a
in PX,
public
okay.
briefing.
Public, great. My other question is the statement of intent. Obviously, that's just an interim one in between. Who's going to be putting the information towards that, and how much say does council have? And with the following statement of intents after the interim one, we've talked about getting the public's feedback on that. So are we looking to put that out for a consultation document in the future? Can you just explain how the public will feed into our statements of intents going forward?
So the first one, given the interim, is it will come to you on the 7th for your feedback and your direction, and then we will work very quickly to bring that to you in May for adoption. In terms of the final, where there is no requirement to go to the public for consultation, that will come to you. If that's a direction the council would like to make, we will work on that, but it would have to come as a council direction.
Kia ora team, thank you for the update. A bunch of the questions I was going to ask have already been asked, so that's great. One that's left is we've got that board appointments will be added in once the process is agreed. Do you know roughly what sort of timeline you're expecting for that?
We hope to be bringing that to you with options and proposals on the 7th, which would then be included in the Constitution. So once that's agreed and had your feedback, we will be able to insert that in.
Awesome. And the other one is you mentioned about a 6-month process for transferring staff over. Is that, I'm not really that up with when you create a new entity that's owned by the original one. Is that literally a transfer of contracts, or does there have to be an offer of redundancy / re-recruitment process?
We're just working through that at the moment. I wouldn't like to make comment.
Okay.
But we're starting with the with that plan and understanding how we're going to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a low-level one. The Constitution, 21st of May. Are we going to have a holding name? Is it Waterco, or are we actually going to have a brand to put on it? Since we're now we've got it, we might as well try and call it something, rather than Wisco all the time. Have we got a name for it?
It's been floated that we generically brand it Selwyn Water while the branding is being done, and then we would, as a holding name, and then we would brand it once the branding's been done.
Kia ora tātou. Just quickly for me too on the Constitution, as it aligns with local government, I assume that within there there'll be te tiriti o Waitangi effect too. And secondly, around sort of something that broadly around what Sophie was saying, and I believe that body of work is being undertaken around right-sizing what both organisations look like moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. From councillors' perspectives, do you want this to all be done with all of council, and from what I've heard over the discussions we've had recently, is this was the best place to do it. We all need to take ownership for the contribution to the next piece. The Local Water Down Well subcommittee has run its course, and we should just stop that now and now move into all of council having those decisions. Is there an alternate view to that?
Yes, I think that we should rely on our subcommittee, as we have done up till now, to actually to do it and to do the work and then bring it back to council for final recommendation. But I'm happy to that. I would like to throw as an alternative that we actually give the delegation to that committee.
Cool. Is there anyone else that supports that view? Sophie?
I put my light on to say I disagree. I actually think it should be full council. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, does anyone else agree with Phil's perspective that it should be a subcommittee still? Yeah. Shane?
We've made the decision, and what is it that we're meeting on to discuss into the future? We've got the body of work here that's going to be done, and if it's only going to delay the process or the inevitable, we're better off to wait till the full information comes back rather than getting in the middle of it like we usually do and conflating and confusing things. So I'm more in favour of just getting the work done and bringing it to some state that we can actually make a decision on.
Okay. So I'm sensing here, thanks Phil for raising it. I think we'll keep it at all council now. This will be the end of the Local Water Done Well subcommittee. And Tim, unless there's any particular work that you want to do, we would only be having a meeting to dissolve the meeting. And if this, at the briefing here, if the direction is just do that, we'll bring a paper to a council meeting and acknowledge that that subcommittee no longer exists, and all further Local Water Done Well work will be brought to all of council. Okay. Anything further on Local Water Done Well? No, thank you for the consideration and the briefing today.
And we also agreed to look at the remediation or a form of remediation of the med centre. I'm still understanding to what extent we do have some funds in the LTP. Our intention is to maintain a level of service to the community in regard to that medical centre, and I might need to take that offline with Grant to give you more detail around what that looks like.
Cool. So there's no decision to be made on that. I just thought take advantage of the briefing here and just have that update for everyone so we're across it. It was raised at a previous subcommittee this morning. So thank you, Tim. Cool. We'll close the